so it's a good morning for me. It may be an evening to you or an afternoon, but I'd like to wish you a happy new year all the same. So we're going to work with setting an intention for the practice or for a goal for the future. Intentions are something we're heading towards, and we try our hardest to meet them. That intention may be just for the next however long we are on the mat today. It might be that you want to set a goal for a sport or something to do with lifestyle. Whatever that is, we'll take a few moments at the beginning to set that intention. So have a think about that for a few moments. I'm just going to give you a couple of ideas of what we're going to be doing today, some variations in case something doesn't suit you. So with our planks, we're doing tree planks, which is actually going to be this kind of shape. So we'll be going into tree and finding tree legs. So that would be our tree plank. That foot can come to the calf, but just make sure it's not resting on the knee. If that feels too challenging, drop the base knee, take a hold of the lifted knee and just hold it in that space. So we're still getting that external rotation, but it's a little bit more supported with the knee down. With triangle reverse, if your left foot's forward, you try and make sure those hips are always facing the short edge of the mat as you fold. Now you can actually use a block for this and take it to the outside edge of the front foot and place the opposite hand on top. And then you take that rotation, and if you don't want to lift that top arm up, you can keep it to the lower back. Any twistings, if you're not happy to do elbow hooks, you can always bring that variation into it. So just work with your own abilities, where your body wants to go. It might be that you've not done yoga for a while. It might be that you've been doing lots of yoga and you feel quite strong. Step it up, step it down, regress it, progress it, whatever that may be. So we're going to start on our knees. So make sure you have some water available. Untuck the toes, bring the knees together, feet together. And just take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, relax them back down towards the hips. And just take a moment sitting in this kneeling position. Just taking a scan of the body from the top of the head down to the fingertips, down to the toe tips. Just having a check-in with how your body feels. Once you've had a check-in with that body, start thinking about an intention you'd like to set for the time on the mat or a goal for the future. And then let that intention sit in your subconscious space. Bring now the attention to the breath. And just notice where you're sending that breath, whether it's high in the ribs, low in the ribs, or into the belly. Grow tall through the spine, relax through the shoulders. Have a little tether and rib, so the hip and rib tether, so we're nice and strong in that core centre as we start. Trying to encourage that tailbone to point down to the floor. So we take in any impingements out of the lower back, and we have a nice strong core centre. Then try and connect to that Ujjayi breath. The inhale and exhales through the nose with a slight rasp at the back of the throat. The mouth stays closed if you can, unless you're holding any colds or allergies. A slight audible sound at the back of the throat. Just take another moment in this place. Checking in with the breath. Maybe sending that breath a little deeper into the belly. And then opening the eyes, take another roll of the shoulders, relax them back towards the hips, bring the hands forward so the heel of the hands are under the shoulders, step the feet back so we're finding a plank position. Again, try and nip those ribs in, try and push that tailbone towards the heels, push the hands into the mat, and that space between the shoulder blades, fill it with that chest cavity. So we're really pushing strong into the floor, nice and stable into that mat, with a little softness through the elbows so we're not hyperextending into that joint. Then start to paddle the feet as you start to raise those hips up towards the ceiling. Bringing one heel down at a time. Bringing ourselves into our first downward facing dog. Widen the fingers, push into all the knuckles, push into the palms, push into the heel of the hands. Have the toes in front of the heels and the feet hip width apart. Relax the neck, let it just hang and let gravity take a hold. Then when you're happy to bring those heels into a still position, squeeze them down towards the mat. If you need to bend the knees to soften the lower back, take a little micro bend in those knees or a slightly bigger bend in the knees if you need to. Try and create some space along the collarbones. We're going to start with 3 vinyasas, option 1, 2 and 3, stop at which option you wish to stop at. Come forward to a plank on your inhale. Drop down with the knees, untuck the toes, turn the creases of the elbows as you exhale down to the floor. Push into the hands, bring it into a little baby cobra. Release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes, engage the centre of the body as the chest comes back to the thighs. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze the heels back, soften the knees if you need to, paddle the feet if you wish. Your next breath in comes back forward to a plank position. Drop the knees if you need to, if not, come in with me, turn the creases of the elbows, release on your exhale with a straight body to the floor. Untuck the toes, push into the hands, maybe come a little higher with your baby cobra or taking it to an up dog. Release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes, engage the centre body as you take the hips back. Push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back and relax through the neck. So you can stick with option 1 or 2 or option 3, chaturanga. Come forward to a plank position. Turn the creases of the elbows, bring the elbows to graze the ribs, hold it in that hover space. Roll through, up, lift up the chest, thighs stay away in our up dog, squeeze the shoulders back. And then rolling straight over the toes, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back or bringing chest to thighs, but all the time keeping that centre engaged, meeting yourself back in down dog. Have a nod, have a shake of the head. Take one more of your making. I'm taking it back to option 1, forward to plank on the inhale. I'm dropping the knees and tucking the toes, turn the creases of the elbows, core stays strong as you release to the floor. Push into the hands and lift up the chest. Release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes, the chest comes back to the thighs or rolling straight over the toes as you lift the hips, meeting back in down dog. Relax the neck. Just have a little paddle of the feet. So we're going to be taking our first pose, which is going to be side plank with tree legs. Choose your option wherever you wish to be. Come forward to a plank position. If you wish to drop that right knee, drop the right knee. If not, roll over with straight legs onto the right side. Bring a bend into the left knee, either place it on the lower shin or into that upper thigh. When you've found the leg, lift the hips, raise the hands to find tree legs in our side plank. Remember, if you need to drop the knee and just bring that knee in so we get that external rotation of the hip. Whichever place you wish to be, find your space. So if you like to go back to full plank with tree legs still, roll back onto the toes of the right foot, bring the left hand down. Choice to lower with tree legs if you wish. Then release the leg, roll through, up, lift up the chest. Remember, you could drop the knees if you wish, your vinyasa choice. Making your way back to down dog, lifting the hips and squeezing those heels back. So taking that same pose on the left side, come forward to a plank position. This time you can drop the left knee if you wish, roll onto that left side with straight legs if not. Find the leg of the right into your tree position and reach up with that right hand. Push the hips forward, support through the outside edge of the left foot and the left hand.
Vasisthasana, Vrksasana, plank with tree legs. Holding it in that space just for one more breath. Choice to straighten that right leg again if you wish, or keep it in tree legs as you find full plank position. Low with that tree leg if you wish. Then release the tree leg out. Lift up the chest. Take yourself back to down dog, lifting the hips and squeezing those heels back. So that's encouraging some core strength around the center of the body. We're going to add on another pose onto the end of side plank. So come forward to a plank position. Roll over onto your right side. Find that tree leg or drop that right knee. Whatever seems to work for you, for your strength, your capability, regress it or progress it. Holding it in tree legs just for a breath. Then wherever you are, take a hold of that left toe and bring it forward to the front of the mat to find high lunge. Right hand stays down, left hand lifts, high lunge rotation. And we're trying to find that rotation from the spine. Parivrita, Anjaneya Sasana. Feel that right shoulder tucking under the left, the hips staying nice and level to that front edge of the mat. So try not to let that right hip drop too much. Holding in this space, just for one more breath, maybe gazing up to that left hand. That rotation works that digestive system. Bring that left hand down, step the left foot back, and take a vinyasa of your choice, either dropping the knees and untucking the toes or releasing down with straight body. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes, bring the chest back to the thighs. Push it into the hands and feet, lift up those hips. Squeeze those heels back. Coming back forward to a plank. Roll onto your left. Choice to drop that left knee if you wish, or find that tree leg on that right side. External rotation of that right hip. Vasisthana, Vrksasana. One more breath here. Then wherever you are, maybe try and find the right toes with that right hand to bring that right foot forward. Left hand stays on the floor, right hand lifts. Rotate from the waist. Pelvis stays neutral to the mat. Maybe the gaze up to that right hand. Parivrita, Anjani Asana. It's really hard to pronounce the Sanskrit names, but they all end in asana, which means pose. Then bring that right hand down, step your right foot back, and finish a vinyasa of your choice. I'm taking straight body to the floor, elbows grazing the ribs, untuck the toes, pushing into my hands, lifting up my chest. Releasing the chest back down, tucking under with the toes. Bringing the chest back to the thighs, pushing into those hands, pushing into those feet, lifting up the hips and squeezing those heels back. So we're taking another pose onto the other side. So coming forward to a plank position. Find your side plank. If you don't wish to find tree legs, feel free just to stay in side plank. If you want to find the legs, bring that left foot into either the shin or up into the groin. Holding it in this space just for another breath. Then take a hold of the toes of the left foot, bring the foot forward, right hand stays down, left hand lifts, rotating out to that left side with the chest, pelvis neutral. And then finding rotation of warrior. So lifting up with the chest, keeping the twist in the waist. So we're taking Parivrita Virabhadrasana, rotation warrior. Sink the hips nice and low, keep a good bend in that left knee. The right heel pushing back.
Right hand reaching forward, left hand reaching back, palms facing out to the left. Try not to lean too far forward. Try and stack the spine, one vertebra on top of the other. Holding in. Here, breathing deeply. Breathing out completely. Then on your out breath, windmill the hands down, step it back to plank, and take that vinyasa of your choice. I'm taking option 3. We're going to release to that hover, roll through, up, lift up the chest, taking it back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Ready to take side plank, tree legs on the left, forward to a plank position. Roll onto your left side, either keeping both legs straight or bending that right knee, bringing the foot into the thigh or the calf. Hold it in tree side plank, supported with the left hand and outside of the left foot. And then making your way forward with the right foot, either taking hold of the ankle or the toe. Keep the left hand down, raise the right hand up to the ceiling, gazing up to that thumb. Rotation from the waist. We keep that rotation as you start to lift the torso, the spine to stack on top of those hips. Use those oblique muscles to give that twist. Right knee stays bent, hips stay low, left leg stays straight. And we're trying to encourage that left heel back as much as you can to feel the stretch down that calf and the Achilles. Parivrita Virabhadrasana. Warrior in rotation. Try and squeeze a little more rotation from that waist. Try not to lean too far forward with that left hand. On your out breath, windmill the hands down, step the feet back, full plank. Take a vinyasa of your choice and back to option 1, untucking the toes. Elbows grazing the ribs as a release to the floor. Lift up the chest. Make your way back to down dog, core center strong. Rib and hips tethered. Try not to impinge that lower back. As you make your way back to down dog, maybe having a paddle of the feet, a nod and a shake of the head. Coming down onto the knees, separate the knees as wide as the mat, bring the big toes together, sit bones to the heels, foreheads to the mat, and just take a moment either in child's pose or if you wish to take on some fluids, maybe take some water. So we've done the first 3 poses on both sides. Remember, you don't always have to go to tree legs with side plank if you don't wish. It's just a little progression pose if you want to try it. So Vasisthana, Vrixasana with tree. Then we've got high lunge rotation. So we have our Parivrita and Jnanasana. And then we've got our warrior rotation, Parivrita Virabhadrasana. So we're going to add another pose onto that, which is Parsvattanasana, pyramid pose. But we will need to step our back foot forward slightly as we get to that space. So starting to make your way back to your downward facing dog, either coming through tabletop first and then stepping the feet back, keeping the shoulders over the heel of the hands, and then lift the hips, squeeze the heels back. Remember, work with how your body feels. If it's starting fatigue, reduce the vinyasas maybe to the easiest option. Or maybe don't vinyasa at all. Maybe you just want to take on some water between the flows. So coming forward to a plank position. Roll over onto your right side. Remember, you can drop that right knee and bring that left knee up to an external rotation to create that tree leg position. Or keep yourself nice and long with straight legs, or find tree in this space. Holding it there just for another breath. Then taking a hold of the left foot, bringing it through to the front of the mat. Right hand stays down, left hand lifts, and we gaze up to that left thumb. Squeeze through the waist, pelvis neutral.
And then from this space, start to lift up with the torso, right hand forward, left hand back, stacking the spine, one vertebra on top of the other, but keeping that rotation. Holding in this space for another breath. Then bring the hands to the hips, turn the shoulders forward, step your back foot slightly forward by a foot, straighten both legs. Bring the hands behind to find elbows, open the chest. Start to fold over that left leg, both legs straight, right heels grounded to the mat. And we try and fold as deep as we can over that left thigh, encouraging the left hip back and the right hip forward. So thinking about neutralising that pelvis to the front of the mat. And I want you to try and create that muscle memory in this Parsvattanasana pyramid pose. Ready for when we take our reverse triangle. So hips are pointing to the front of the mat. So if that right hip's starting to squeeze back, squeeze it back forward and send the left hip back. Try and keep that chest nice and open. If you need to change the grip of the hands, you can find that reverse prayer. Palms coming together, a little more challenging for the shoulders. Push nice and strong into both feet. Try not to rock out onto the outside edges. Push into those big toe mounts. One more breath in this space. Then release the hands to either side of the left foot. Bend your left knee. Step your right foot back, that space that you stepped it forward. Step the left foot back to a plank. And then release your Vinyasa choice. I'm taking option 3 with that chaturanga. Lifting up the chest, keeping everything engaged in the centre of my body as I lift the hips. Squeeze the heels back or bring those chests back to thighs. All finding down dog. Releasing our heads, our necks, thinking of any tension we've built up in those shoulders as we've moved through the flow. We'll take those 4 poses on your left side. Breath in, forward to a plank position. Roll over onto your left side, either find tree leg or not. Remember, this challenges the balance. One hand, one foot balance. Right hand lifts. From this space, take a hold of the right toes or ankles to bring that right foot forward. Neutralise the hips to the front, left hand stays down as your right hand lifts to find a reversed lunge position. The gaze up to that right thumb. And then from this position, keeping the rotation as we lift the shoulders. Keep that spine stacking one vertebra on top of the other. Try and encourage the right shoulder back, the left shoulder around. And then bring the hands onto the hips, turn the shoulders forward. Step the back foot forward a little and drop the heel. And then start to fold from the hips. Don't let the left hip go back, bring it forward. Don't let the right hip come forward, send it back. Use your breath as you get maybe to halfway to lift, lengthen. And on your out breath, use that abdominal strength. Pyramid pose. Getting into those hamstrings on the back of that right leg. Think about those hips. Try and find that muscle memory of having them nice and neutral to that front edge of the mat. Quite often the left hip wants to scoop back. Scoop it back forward and send the right hip back. Remember, you can find elbows, reverse palms in this position. Just using your breath. Parsvattanasana, pyramid pose. And then release the hands, bring a bend into your right knee, step your left foot that space you stepped it forward. Bring your right foot back to meet the left and take a vinyasa of your choice. Progress it, regress it, work with your energy levels. Remember, new year can quite often be the start of your practice again when you've got out of a sync of a regular practice. So sometimes those muscles feel fatigued quickly. So therefore you have to work at strengthening that body back up. So finding our way back into our down dog, having a nod, having a shake of the head. Ready to add another pose onto the end. which is Parvarita Trikonasana, reversed triangle. So I'd like you to make sure your block is just at the front of the mat, ready to take a hold of if you need it. Maybe you won't. Come forward to a plank position. Roll over onto your right side and find tree legs, drop the knee, straight legs, whatever side plank works for you, but we're trying to work on this tree side plank on this particular practice. Keep those hips lifted high, try not to let them sink towards the mat. From this place, take a hold of the ankle or the left toes, bring your left foot forward, right hand stays down as you raise the left hand, finding a rotation from the waist. Right heel pushing back with a right straight leg, left knee bent, pushing into that left foot. Maybe the gaze is up to that left thumb. From this space, start to lift up with the shoulders, spine to stack, right hand forward, left hand back, left knee bent, right leg straight. Keep encouraging that right heel back. Feel that stretch along that hip flexor at the front of the right leg. Feel the stretch along that thigh muscle on that right leg. One more breath here. Turn the shoulders forward, hands to hips, step the right foot forward slightly. Maybe you want to find that reversed palm or elbows, and then start to fold into that Parsvattanasana pyramid pose, using your breath to get there. Using that abdominal strength to draw that body over that left thigh. Maybe encouraging that left shin and chin towards each other. Keep pushing into those palms, create space in the chest. And then release the hands to the hips if you've found reverse prayer. Take a hold of the block in front of you or the can of beans. Bring that block to the outside edge of the left foot. Right hand onto the block. Turn the shoulders. Keep that right hip coming forward, left hip coming back. Left hand can reach up to the ceiling or find a space on the lower spine if that's more comfortable for the shoulders. Try not to lock out in that left knee. Now, if you don't need to use a block and you've got the stretch in the hamstrings and you've got that space at the back of that leg, bring that hand to the floor, reach that left hand up. So we find that full expression of our reverse triangle, Parvarita Trikonasana. Again, the gaze can be up to the thumb, both legs straight, right foot slightly turned out, left foot facing that short edge of the mat. One more breath here. Then release the hands down, bend into your left knee. Again, step your right foot back, just remove the block out of the way. Step your left foot back and slowly find a vinyasa of your choice, or maybe you wish to take water on here. Maybe you choose to take a slightly easier version of vinyasa. Then start to lift the hips, squeeze the heels back into our downward facing dog. So again, just set up that block near the front of the mat in case you need to use it, or your bean cans or your books, whatever you're using. And we'll take it on the opposite side. Come forward to plank on your inhale. Roll over onto your left side. Drop the knee, keep legs straight. Bring your right foot maybe into that left thigh. Find that tree side plank if you wish. Remember, it's not obligatory. It's just more of a challenging balance as we've only got that left hand and left foot to balance on. Try and keep those hips lifted, engage those oblique muscles so we don't sag in the centre. And then taking a hold of the right ankle or right toes to bring that right foot through. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Left hand stays down as you raise the right hand to find that twisted lunge. Don't let that left hip drop down too far. Try and stack the right shoulder close to being on top of the left. And then from this position, ground into the feet for stability as you raise the shoulders, stack the spine, Rotate the waist, gazing to the right, hips forward to the front edge of the mat, left arm forward, right arm back. From this position, bring the hands back to the hips, turn the shoulders forward, step the back foot forward, slightly drop the heel. Keep that left hip forward, right hip back. Choose where you go with your arms, either elbows or reversed prayer. And then start to fold. Maybe use your breath as you get halfway. And then maybe fold a little deeper over that right thigh. Try not to let that foot of the right roll out onto the right side. Try and push into the big toe now. Try not to let that left hip go back. Bring it forward and send the right hip back. Maybe you can encourage that chin towards that right shin. Or maybe you're really high, it doesn't matter, as long as you feel the stretch down the back of that right leg. And you try and squeeze those shoulder blades together to create space in the chest. Release the grip of the hands if you've got it. Take the block, if you're using, and place it to the outside edge of the right foot. Bring your left hand on the block. Turn, twist the shoulders. Raise the hand of the right up to the ceiling or keep it in the lower back. If you're not using a block, the hands to come to the outside edge of that right foot. Left hand to the outside edge. Find whatever works for you in this position. Keep it easy, but keep it strong. One more breath here. Release that right hand down, bend into your right knee. Step your left foot back a bit further, step your right foot back to meet the left, and finish a vinyasa of your choice. I'm staying with the option 3. I'm just trying to strengthen my shoulders, my arms, strengthen my core, engage it as you roll back or push back chest to thighs. Everybody finding down dog just for a breath. And just take a moment coming down onto the knees. Maybe take a little water. So we have one more pose to add on. It's either hand to knee, opposite hand to opposite knee, or opposite hand to opposite toe, depending what you've got in the back chain of the legs, to whether you can reach the toe as you straighten the leg in a standing balance. And then we're going to rotate it. So Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. So it's a balance on one leg with a rotation from the waist. Either choice to grab knee or grab toe. So when you're ready, let's find a way back to down dog. Just have that block nice and handy in case you need it in your reverse triangle. Parivrtta Trikonasana. Step your feet back to plank and lift the hips back to down dog. Take a moment, take a long breath in, maybe a long sigh out through the mouth. Then maybe find yourself back in that Ujjayi breathing. Come forward to a plank position. Roll onto your right side. Find tree legs if you wish. Left foot into the shin or into the upper thigh. Raise the hips nice and high, squeezing that right bum cheek. You'll probably feel stronger one side compared to the other. And then take a hold of the toe or the ankle of the left foot, bring it forward, come onto the toes of the back foot. Right hand stays down as you open up to the left, twisting through the waist, using that right hand as an anchor to help with the twist. The gaze up to that left thumb. Stabilize the feet first as you then raise the shoulders to find that Parivrtta Virabhadrasana rotation warrior. Right hand forward, left hand back. Easy breaths. Use that rotation as you take that breath out. Then bring the hands to the hips. Step your right foot forward slightly and drop the right heel. Neutralize those hips to the front edge of the mat and then use the abdominal strength to bring yourself to a fold. Maybe find arms behind the back. Elongation in breath and your flexion is your out breath. Trying to bring that thigh as close to that chest or that chin as close to the shin, creating some space between the shoulder blades. eases as we ease into this pose. And then bring the hands back to the hips. Take either the block to place it to the outside edge of the left foot, or just bring that right hand to the outside edge and find our twisted, rotated triangle. Parivrita Trikonasana. Facing the chest to the left, hips to the front edge. Encourage the right hip forward, left hip back. Remember that left hand doesn't have to be lifted, it can be on the lower spine. One more breath here. And then start to lift back up, bringing the hands to the hips. Step forward onto your left foot as you bring your right knee through. So choice here is to bring the left hand to the right knee, or take a hold of the toes of the right foot with the left hand. Straighten the leg out if you're going for a straight leg, or keep the knee bent if you're staying with the knee bent. Reach up and over with your right hand and find that revolve of hand to big toe, one leg balance, chest turning towards that right side of the room, hips staying towards the front of the mat, pushing your right heel forward, right toes back if the leg's straight, or just keeping a neutral pelvis if those knees are bent. One more breath here. Find that oblique strength to twist that body a little more. Really concentrating on a focal point at the side of the room. And then bring that right hand back up and over if you've got straight leg. Bend into the knees, squeeze that knee into the chest. Then slowly release that right leg back. Bring the hands to the floor. Step your left foot back and take a vinyasa of your choice. Forward, release, either dropping knees, straight bodies, roll through, up, lift up the chest, engage the core center as you lift the hips and squeeze those heels back. One more side to do with 6 poses. To add on that Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, hand to big toe, one leg balance. Come forward to a plank position. Roll onto your left side. Find that tree leg plank if you've got it in your practice. Raise the hips, engage the glutes, push the hips forward slightly. One more breath here. Then take a hold of the right foot with the right hand, bring it forward. Keep the left hand on the floor, raise the right hand up to the ceiling and gaze up to that right thumb. Anjaneyasana, Parivrita, twisted high lunge. Stabilize the feet, lift up through the shoulders, stack the vertebrae, squeeze the obliques to twist through the waist, squeezing all that digestive system, working those toxins out, good nutrients in. Then turn the shoulders, hands to the hips, step your left foot forward slightly, neutralize the hips to the front, find maybe hands behind the back on the hips or prayer position. Use a long breath to elongate that spine and a long breath out to fold over that right thigh. Where have the hips gone? Has that left hip gone back a little? If it has, squeeze it forward. Has the right hip come forward too much? If it has, squeeze it back. Maybe encourage that chin towards that shin. Only go as far as your body allows. Try not to encourage any pain, but challenge yourself as much as your body will allow. Release the hands. Either bring that left hand to a block on the outside of the right foot or the left hand to the floor. Turn, rotate, keep those hips facing forward. Raise the hand to the ceiling if you wish, or to the lower back. Just get that rotation through the waist. However that comes is okay with me. And then bring those shoulders back forward, lift up through the torso, hands to the hips as you step forward onto that right leg. Either keep that knee bent, or if you're going for the full strengthening and stretching of that left leg. Left hand comes up and over, and we find that rotation of the waist. Try not to let that right knee bend. Try and keep it as straight as you can, as tall through the spine as you can. Remember, you don't have to have that left leg straight. It can be a bent knee, still challenging with the balance, still doing the rotation. This is just something to put an extra stretch in the back of that left leg. Easy breaths in. Long breaths out. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Hand to big toe, balance. Bring that left hand back up and over. Take a bend back into that left knee if the left leg's straight. Squeeze that knee into the chest, whether you've still got a bent knee or not. Squeeze it in, compress that left hip flexor. And then slowly let that left foot come to the back of the mat. Bring hands down either side of that right foot. Step your right foot back and take a vinyasa of your choice. So we've done all 6 poses, taking add-ons as we go through, taking our vinyasa flows in between. When you make your way back to down dog, make sure you've done it with that core strength engagement. Take a moment in down dog. And then coming onto the knees, untuck the toes. Bring the shoulders over the hips, hips over the knees. Have the knees hip width apart, bring the hands to the lower back. So we've taken lots of forward folds, lots of rotations. We have done some back bends, but we're just going to take another back bend here. Push the hips forward, lift up through the rib cage, lift up through the chest, lift up through the gaze, and take that back bend without compressing that lower spine. Try and tuck the tailbone down as much as you can. Feel that stretch through the hips, the thighs, the belly, the ribs. Holding it just for another breath. And then lift those shoulders back over the hips, nice and controlled. Start to bring the bum to in between the feet. So bring the knees together. If you wish to use a block here, feel free to use the block. Just place it underneath. Make sure you've got space behind you if you go for the full expression. So you can come to here, knees together, feet slightly apart, but tops of the feet flat on the mat. You can stay here and lift the chest. If you want to take it a little bit deeper, to stretch through those quads and hip flexors a little more, remove the block and let the bum sink to the inside of those feet. You can then come down onto your forearms and just stay holding onto the top, the bases of the feet. Maybe drop the head, relax and stretch through the neck. If you want to take it deeper than that, bring yourself all the way onto your backs without the knees splaying apart. Just lift the bum, tuck the tailbone under so we don't pinch the lower back. And you should feel a stretch all down those hip flexors into those thighs. It's not a place that everybody can get to if they haven't got that stretch along the front chain of muscles of the legs. If you've managed to get to this place, so long as this lower back isn't pinching, you're all good. Wherever you are, just take some breaths. And then if you're down low to come out, you bring the shoulder blades together, you come onto the elbows, push into the elbows and come onto the forearms. If you're in forearms, you then push into the hands. If you're on blocks, release the blocks. Bring both feet forward to the front of the mat, toes back towards the shins. We're going to make our way down onto the floor, so arms come forward and slowly let that spine come down one vertebra at a time with control to bring yourself all the way down to the mat. And when those shoulders and heads hit the floor, make sure it's nice and controlled. Bring the arms out to a T shape. We're just going to take one more rotation of the spine, just nice and simple drop of the legs. So bring the knees together, feet together. Let the knees drop to the left, the gaze to the right. And if you're feeling a little pinch in the lower back, just try and push that tailbone down and tether the ribs and hips. If you want to get a little more, take a hold of the right foot with the left hand if you can reach, and just stretch that right leg out. You'll start to feel it a little more in the outside of the hips, the piriformis, into the outside of the IT band, on the outside of that right thigh. But all the time, keeping those shoulder blades pushing into the mat. You can gaze towards that right hand to get the full twist of the spine. Again, just working all those synovial fluids in between each vertebrae, flushing that system out of the digestive system. Bring that right knee back in to join the left. Bring the knees back into the centre. Whatever we do one side, we always do to the other. Let the knees drop over to the right. Maybe your gaze goes over to your left. Keep shoulders down, chest pointing up. And then straighten maybe that left leg out by taking a hold of the left toes with the right hand. Sometimes one side feels a little more tighter than the other. You'll work that out for yourself. This is definitely my type hip. My left hip is always screaming when I'm trying to stretch. Just listen to your body, work out what your body requires. Because if ever you find a tighter side on one side or the other, you can adjust your practice to suit. Maybe the gaze goes to those left fingertips. If that left leg straight, push the left heel out and the left toes back. One more breath here. Take a bend back into that left knee. Bring both knees back into the centre. Bring the knees into the chest, just give them a squeeze, lift that lower spine away from the floor. Just have a moment squeezing the knees in before we then take you into relaxation. Letting the feet come to the edges of the mat. Bringing the hands down by the sides of the body, turn the palms up, let those fingers gently curl. Find a comfortable space for the shoulders, comfortable space for the head, maybe moving it from side to side. Maybe lifting the hips, tucking the tailbone down, giving them a little rock. And then soften the forehead, the jaw, close the eyes. Let go of any ujjayi breathing, any restriction in the back of the throat. And just take some easy, normal breaths in through the nose. Maybe a long sigh out through the mouth. Relaxing through the extremity of the toes and the fingers, the soles of the feet and the palms of the hands, the wrists and the ankles, the shins and the forearms, the knees and elbows, the thighs and the upper arms, the pelvis and the shoulders, the spine from the base to the top of the neck, the belly, ribs and chest, back of the head, top of the head, the face, the throat, the collarbones. And just take this moment to go back to the intention you set at the beginning of practice. And if that intention was about your time on the mat, ask yourself whether you fulfilled your intention. And if your intention's a goal for the future, keep it in your subconscious. Keep revisiting every so often to check in with the progression of your goal. Take a long, deep breath in through the nose. Long sigh out through the mouth. starting to wriggle the fingers, wriggle the toes, rotating those wrists and ankles. Maybe you want to bring that full body stretch, bringing the hands up and over the head, stretching through the fingers, the toes maybe arching into that lower back. Bringing the hands then up and over the head, bringing the knees into the chest, maybe just having a rock of those knees from side to side, massaging that spine, thanking it for practice. Then choice to roll over onto your side, or maybe come up a little more actively by rocking up and down that spine a couple of times. And then finding your way into a seated position wherever you are, whatever comfortable position suits you. Bring the hands on top of the thighs, take a close of the eyes still. On your in-breath, bring the hands up and over the head, palms together at the top. Bring the hands to the chest, soft gaze to the floor. Have peace in your thoughts, your words, your heart. From my heart to yours, Namaste.